Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Big O Nerd. The original OP is Hefty Sprinkles 5723, posted to r/relationship advice May 25th, 2026. I, 32 female, think my husband's, 40 male, mistress is stalking me. We're currently separated after I found out he's been having an affair with the same person for years. I first found out 5 years ago when we worked things out. He swore he'd ended things with her, and I believed him. We had our last child, 4 male, during that period. Since the year started, I'd been getting messages on Facebook and Instagram from accounts with no followers, telling me my husband was having an affair. The DMs had details about the trips he'd taken with her, how they go on dates, have a child together, and all his friends, mom, and siblings knew her. I asked him often if he was still seeing her, and he denied it. What pushed me over the edge was when I saw earrings and a scrunchie that weren't mine in my car after he'd borrowed it for a day. I went through his phone and saw that he was still with her. They even had sex tapes, and he was constantly telling her how much better sex was with her, how he loved her and wanted to be with her. It's obvious he's gotten very strong feelings for her. He admitted to everything, including the child they have together. I left the house and went to my mom's to take a break. We've been officially separated for a month. The problem now is that his mistress keeps showing up to places I go to often. The playground I take the kids to, the bookshop where I buy their school supplies, where I take the girls to get their hair done. We went to get ice cream once, and I could have sworn I saw her. I know what she looks like from the pictures and videos they have together. I feel like I'm going crazy. These are all public places, so there's nothing I can do about it. She just sits there and stares at us. It's making me very uneasy. What's the best way to address this situation? I can't ask for her to be kicked out of a public place. She's always with her daughter anyway, so it never looks weird that a woman and her child are at the same place I go to with my kids. I'm not speaking to my husband unless it's about the kids, and don't want to ask him yet. Comments. User wildlife policy check. You don't need relationship advice, you need legal advice. Start with the divorce and then discuss the stalking. Have everything written down. Time of day, date, where, were your kids with you? All of it. And stay off social media. About to go to X salon with the kids, or whatever. The attorney can advise you on the possibility of a temporary restraining order. Talk to an attorney immediately. Opie responds, I don't post on social media. My last post was from 2019. User Beige Frog comments, you should make a police report. Opie responds, I can't easily get a police report since she's not trespassing. They're all public spaces. Sweet Lobster 9977. Is it possible she planted an AirTag in your car? Opie responds, I doubt it. My phone would have picked up on it. Little Dog Lover 113. Totally on your side, but I'm just thinking, if these were her spots and your husband was taking your kids to meet her there, could she be thinking/feeling the same way you are? Like, wow, this lady is obsessed with me. She keeps showing up where I am. Because technically your husband piggybacked off her spots and shuffled them onto you without informing you she would likely be there because it's her routine, not his. It could be a little of both due to the DMs, but honestly, I'm thinking she's just doing her normal outings and you started showing up, and perhaps now she's more intentionally going just to see if you'll be there. I don't know, this is a crazy situation. Best revenge is happiness. This marriage is over. I'd focus on getting out in your own happiness. Start going to different places and building up different friendships. Opie responds, that might have initially been the case, but now that she's intentionally switched up her routine, it's no longer a coincidence. Update, after 1 day. Thank you for all your advice. I confronted my husband about it. He said she's not showing up at places I go to. I'm the one going to places she frequents. My husband used to be the one who took the kids out on weekends since he's virtually never at home on weekdays. I do school pickup and drop off and he does the fun stuff. All the places he used to take the kids to, which I'm doing now since they're with me, were suggested by her. That's where she buys her books. The playground is where she used to take her nieces and nephews before their daughter was born. She recommended the salon to him since my daughters and her have the same hair texture. He says she used to go to the salon on Sundays after church, but only recently switched it up to Saturdays, when I take the girls. The ice cream place is apparently her favorite. So yeah, my dick of a husband had been taking our kids to his mistress's favorite spots. My kids already love going to all those places, and finding a salon that caters to our daughter's hair needs close to us will be difficult. He didn't show any remorse telling me about it and reminding me that it's a public space and she hasn't committed any crimes. I'm just going to have to find better alternatives. Comment: must remember this 709. So, if he is telling the truth and not covering for her, that son of a bitch was seeing her in these places too, with your kids. Start looking for alternate spots. OP responds: my kids said he didn't introduce anyone to them. They're the chattiest kids and would have mentioned it. I think she just gave him ideas on where to take them since she used to babysit for her nieces and nephews. User KEYZ. Talk to a lawyer and file for child support now while you're still navigating the legal side of separation. You can have a temp child support order in place while you navigate the rest. In the US, whichever mom files first will get the largest contribution of his income for child support. If she files first, she'll get a higher percentage than you, despite your children being older and products of the marriage. Also, find new places to go, find a new salon, take the girls on an adventure to find new places that are not tainted by him and her. Give her 100% less headspace. She's an idiot for standing with a married man. You deserve better. OP responds: I'm not in the US, but I'm working on putting together everything for a lawyer. Ecstatic Unit 9449 comments: the fact that she was anonymously messaging you before everything came out makes this feel a lot less accidental. Maybe some of the sightings are coincidence, but constantly showing up at places connected to you and your kids would make anyone feel unsettled. Honestly, the bigger problem is that your husband allowed this whole situation to become so tangled and invasive for years. OP responds: maybe she got tired of waiting for our marriage to end and decided to tell me. There's no way of knowing if it was actually her or not. User DPays comments: turn off location sharing if you are using it. Kids' devices too. Check around your car for a GPS monitor. OP responds: the kids don't have any devices and we never share our location. Turns out she knows where I go with the kids, thanks to my husband. Honestly, the husband in this situation is just actually the worst. Like, the mistress sucks because she's knowingly sleeping with a married man. But also, I do think I agree with OP's assessment that the Facebook and Instagram messages were out of desperation and frustration because she's probably been trying to move on with OP's husband and start a life with him, especially because, you know, they have an affair child together that's been secretly being raised behind the scenes, and she probably wanted to actually, you know, for some reason, settle down with him, despite their entire relationship being built out of an affair, and probably thought that by sending messages on Instagram or Facebook to stoke the fires that the divorce would happen sooner, and she could then claim him for herself. But it's also extra revolting that all of the children's fun spots are actually just the result of his affair, and him learning about those fun spots through his affair. Like, imagine growing up and finding out all of the fun memories that you have with your father are now permanently tainted because every single one of them was actually a recommendation from his mistress. That's just gross. This post was clicked by Choice Evidence 1983, and their tagline is, "It dawned on me that he was a wizard." The regional OP is Box444, posted to r/Am I the Asshole, April 2nd, 2025. Am I the asshole for telling my stepfather he will not be part of my future? Plus a 1-year update. My stepfather, 51 male, and I, 19 female, have not had a necessarily good relationship, even before he married my mother. We tolerate each other, considering we have one thing in common, my mother/his wife being an important part of our lives. I've lived with my mother, stepfather, and sibling since I was 16. He has very specific rules of living in his house, which I follow. I also pay rent now because that just makes sense since I'm an adult. These rules since I was 16 have gotten really strict over the years to the point he argues with me over the littlest mistakes I do. That is fine, but these days he tries to find anything to argue with me about, not just rules. He starts the arguments when he knows I'm the only one in the house, or if my mother is not around. I tend to just stay in my room, cook food when he's not home, or Just stay out studying or at a friend's house to avoid conflict. His native language and mine are not the same. The language here is my second one, so I don't like arguing since I can't express myself well. The arguments have been happening more frequently to the point he does it in front of my mother too. I can tell she's uncomfortable seeing it, but doesn't add to the situation because she doesn't want to pick sides. He uses the language against me while arguing, telling me not to speak my native language in the house either, whether to my mother, when I don't know a word in the language spoken here, or when I'm calling my dad, since he only speaks our native language. This, coupled with other things happening, has put me on edge. I work and study. Last week I was getting ready for work, a late shift, and only my stepfather was home. I was putting my things in my bag, and he came over to start an argument over catching my mother and I, having talked in my native language the day before. He argued that we should not speak in a language he doesn't know, because we could be talking bad about him. We weren't talking about him, but about how I wanted to change workplaces. Same company, different town. But he didn't believe me. We even switched languages to his when he came into the living room when it happened. The argument got heated, and words were thrown around on both sides. He said something very left field that he knew I didn't like discussing, a traumatic time when I was 15. I was so angry. I said he now had no place in my future. My future wedding, he wouldn't attend. But my mother could. My future children, he wouldn't be a grandfather to. But my mother would be a grandma. He told my mother, who for the last week has been tiptoeing around it. I feel bad for her as she's caught in the middle of this, and apologized to her. And I know I'd been way too harsh on my stepfather, but I don't want my future to be filled with more arguments, especially not on special things like a possible wedding or kids. I will be moving out soon, since that's been my plan the last few months. I finally found an affordable apartment, and maybe that'll relieve some tension. Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Not the asshole, but you need to learn to gray rock. Just because your stepfather is trying to start an argument doesn't mean that you need to respond. As just a general explanation, by the way, being a gray rock is essentially like a conflict avoidant method in abusive scenarios where you just be a gray rock. Uninteresting, unimportant, non-reactive, just there. It's to survive and escape, pretty much, of making yourself as invisible and as boring as possible. Specifically boring, so they can't get a rise out of you. OP responds, generally I try to leave arguments, but we have an open door rule, so if I leave to my room, he will come in to further it. Instead, I usually just leave the house if the argument gets heated, but before I move out, I'll try the gray rock method. Downvoted commenter. Not the asshole. We obviously only have the story from your side, but going from that, he seems to have some resentments that he's not dealing with very well. Moving out is certainly the best option at this time. With that said, I would probably strongly encourage that you, your mother, and he are all probably desperately in need of some level of counseling. Rather than cut him out completely immediately, I would give him the chance to remain a part of your life if he agrees to go to a family therapist to work out just what's causing him to be so angry with you, and how he can work past that. I say this mostly because he will obviously continue to be a part of your mom's life, and asking her to attend events alone would be difficult on her and cause a certain level of embarrassment. However, if you do intend to just outright cut him out, then you need to be firm with that decision. That means no turning to him for help when your chips are down. You can't expect him to be your stepfather when it's convenient for you, but then slink back off to the shadows after. It also means that you need to expect a lot of pushback from your mother, along with fights from other family members who will think you owe him something. Best of luck. So real quick, counseling on this level only works if both parties are interested in pursuing this. The stepfather is not going to be. Also, that suggestion only works if OP wants a connection with her stepfather. That suggestion completely falls apart if OP is trying to escape a scenario and it's like, well, you really should just try to give him a chance so you don't slink back to him later. Also, a stepfather who weaponizes a traumatic event when she was 15 as a way to get digs in during an argument is not someone that she needs to try to go to counseling with. Fuck that idea. OP responds to that comment, I would suggest therapy, but my stepfather doesn't believe in therapy, or at least that's what I know from a conversation he'd had before about the topic of therapy. I haven't asked for help so far from my stepfather, and since I turned 18, I've been paying rent, including the electricity, heating, etc., which is reasonable since I work and am an adult. And also my groceries. I found an affordable apartment that is in my renting range, and I've been saving up in case I suddenly need to pay for emergencies or situations. Commenter 2. Not the asshole, but I have to address this. I can tell she's uncomfortable seeing this, but doesn't want to add to the situation because she doesn't want to pick sides. This is not accurate, and I think it is important you start to understand that now. Your mother has chosen a side, and it is his. He is treating you poorly, and she is doing nothing to stop it. She is not staying out of it. She is letting him abuse you. Please do leave as soon as you can for your own well-being. Commenter 3. This OP. Sadly, your mother has failed you. She should have chosen you, her child, not the immature person she married. Her silence is her choosing her comfort over you. OP, downvoted. My mother has known him since they were teens. He was actually her first boyfriend back then, but he broke up with her back then, and they re-met at a school reunion when my parents were still married, though she did divorce my father a few months afterwards. See, this is an instance where OP being downvoted isn't nearly as egregious as the one from a few days ago, because OP in this case is sidestepping, and they're not fully addressing the conversation. They're kind of tangentially talking about it, while the OP previously simply said they didn't realize that was a form of abuse, and they were being downvoted for that. Still don't really agree with it though, especially because English isn't OP's first language. Commenter 3. That's no excuse for how he treats you in her silence. You deserve better from your mom. OP responds, I know it's not an excuse, and I'm not at all trying to justify my mother's side. I just wanted to put context on my stepfather and mother's relationship. It's one of the main things that set off alarm bells in my head when I first learned of him 6 months after my parents divorced. When my parents started the divorce, and I didn't know at the time, I asked why my dad was crying. I was 12, a kid. He said he missed my mom, and I said it's okay too, I miss her. And I do too, since she wasn't home, not knowing there was a divorce happening. My mom knows very well I didn't agree at all with the way she did it. She blindsided my father, left her 2 kids, and moved in with a new family. Of course, as a kid, I was more than just hurt. Commenter 4. Not the asshole. You're an adult, and he has no business trying to tell you what you can and cannot do. Does he try to isolate your mother also, or is it just that he doesn't want you to talk in your native language? I can only imagine what he's going to attempt to tell you about raising your children. Start keeping your phone on record when he's alone and around, and for God's sake, get the hell out ASAP. OP responds, in the house we have general rules we have to follow, and also just specific rules for us too. Both my mother and I aren't allowed to speak in my native language. If he's around, then we have to speak in his language. Update, May 25th, 2026, 13 and a half months later. Update. It's been a while, but I decided I should update. I did end up moving out and got an apartment, but a few months later, I moved back to my home country, thankfully with a smooth transition on my studies too. I'm also in therapy too, which has helped me deeply. It's been great to see my father, brother, and extended family again. After I moved out, I cut off all contact with my, at the time, stepfather. Yes, at the time, because my mother's currently divorcing him. I'm not sure what finally got through to her about him. When I moved out, I didn't give my mother my new address in fear of her telling him where I lived. I'd meet up with her, occasionally, in public, but very limited, as at the time, she still agreed with him on his actions. She did eventually apologize, but that apology came quite a bit later, around the time I was moving countries. Our relationship won't be what it was when I was younger, and I don't think I'll be comfortable mending it to the old standard. I found out when she apologized that before she divorced my bio father, she did, in fact, cheat on him with my stepfather. Though I wasn't surprised, it was disappointing to know. So, in a way, my words from before were true. He won't be in my future. I cut him out, and legally, he won't be my stepfather either in the near future. Life's good. Good study, good country, good apartment, have time with my father and brother, and even am seeing someone at the moment. Thank you, everyone. That's all. Concluding comments. Commenter. You are way too nice, but then again, that's to be expected after having been raised to be their doormat. She doesn't deserve the right to ever speak to you again after what she's been doing for year after year. She divorced him, you know that. Too little too late. I'm willing to bet it isn't because she's remorseful, but merely to avoid the consequences of her own actions. It won't make all you suffered from the emotional abuse vanish all of a sudden. It's quite likely that once you moved away, she got to bear the brunt of his abuse rather than you, which would mean her reasons for divorcing him were entirely selfish, despite her attempts to mask it as choosing her daughter. By giving her any access to you, you're telling her she had the right to do what she did and doesn't need to be held accountable for it. With such people, anything but permanent consequences are non-consequences. Please understand that for your own good. OP responds, "One of the things I'm working on in therapy, cutting contact fully, is the most likely route I will go. But first, I need to understand my feelings fully and recognize everything properly that happened. It takes time, but I'm focused on myself now and keeping my peace. Thank you for your insight. I do understand what you're saying." Edit. The contact we've had so far since I've moved countries was her stating she was getting a divorce, a legal matter. Living there for years, I gained citizenship there and have voting requirements. And lastly, a random letter addressed to me I told her to throw out. In situations like this, if you marry someone who's abusive and abusing your child, you enter a territory where, yes, you're a victim, but you're also a perpetrator, because you're allowing the abuse to happen. By staying neutral, as commenters have pointed out, and as I've said in previous videos, you're choosing the side that's the perpetrator. You're choosing the aggressor. You're not helping the person who's the victim. If you saw the dog welder going into your local animal shelter, and you said, "You know what, I'm not going to get involved, I'm going to stay neutral." What do you mean, neutral? A motherfucker named the dog welder just walked in there, and you're staying neutral? What is there to be neutral about? And the fact alone that even after OP had left, the mother was still, for a time, defending the stepfather, and it wasn't until later, that 100% points to the fact that after OP was gone, he changed his outlet from OP to the mother, and she started feeling the brunt of it. That feels like the incredibly likely outcome, and if that is the case, then that means that she only decided to leave him when she started experiencing the abuse that her daughter had been. Which spells out the fact of she found it a-okay for her daughter to be tormented by her husband, but the moment that the gears shifted to her, that's unacceptable and I gotta get out of here. That just tells OP that she was never actually worth standing up for, and that OP's happiness was never a factor in what the mother considered to be a happy life. Now, because that one downvoted commenter did piss me off quite a bit, user Tipsy Gamer has a really nice breakdown of that comment that I want to go into. And their tagline is, "I fail to see what my hobbies have to do with this issue." I assumed OP's father was deceased, given that mom obviously cheated on him, surprised him with a divorce, and left her 2 kids to move in with a new family. I'm really curious how OP came to live with the mom and shit father in a different country. Also, there's always at least one jackass in the comments of posts like this defending the obvious abuser, but trying to appear neutral and wise about it. Don't just cut him off. Tell him he can be in your life if he goes to therapy, not if he changes his fucked up behavior. Just going to therapy is good enough, probably because they assume OP is exaggerating or whatever since they're young, and parents are never terrible. Don't cut him out because it may be hard and embarrassing for your mom. She should be fucking embarrassed. It should be hard to choose a complete dick over your child. Actions have consequences, even for enablers. Don't ask him for anything if you cut him off. Nothing in the post indicates OP would ever ask him for a damn thing, ever. Just this commenter assuming every young adult will need something from their parents, and so they should put up with toxicity and abuse to maybe borrow some money one day? And of course they assume the shitfather would even help. User HannahMarb23 and their tagline being, "Sir, Crumb is a cat." People like that are the people who cry, "But family!" when someone in their own family has issues with them or another family member. Let me know what you guys think in the comments here, because I know this is a bit of a touchy subject and it can definitely have some mixed feelings on it. So I'd be curious to hear what you all think. This post was collected by Shattenspringer, and their tagline is, "Waste of a read, literally no drama." This was originally posted to r/networking by user Princess Fluffy Pants, posted February 22nd, 2018. I tricked a company into paying me too much for a job I'm barely qualified for, and now they're treating me like I'm competent, and I don't know how long I can keep faking my way through this. I accepted an interview for a network engineer position that was quite a reach and somehow managed to nail it. What was supposed to be a 1-hour interview turned into a 4-hour interview, and they made me an offer the next week. I expressed hesitancy, so they came back with a second offer. That was 30% higher than their first offer, double the paid time off, and slapped a senior in front of the title. I accepted it because even their baseline offer was more than I thought I was worth, and their second offer was just too bonkers to turn down. But now, I'm a couple months in here and I'm getting overwhelmed really fast. The few outages and major problems that came my way, I was only able to resolve only through dumb luck and guessing. And most of my day is now spent trying to hide how little I actually know from my boss. I get tasked with something, cheerfully say, okay, sure, no problem, and then spend the next 2 days frantically Googling and digging through Cisco's config docs to try and figure out how to pull this off. I'm laughing because I just realized what's going on here, and this is gonna be a fun story. So I'm trying my best to be less terrible at my job to justify this idiotic salary, but fuck! There's just so much! I've started studying for my CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Professional, switch exam, and it's its own deluge of info to try and absorb, but I also keep reading that being a CLI monkey is a dead end these days, so in the evenings, I'm slowly plowing through learning Python the hard way. CLI means command line interface, so that means he's oftentimes working at a terminal. Once upon a time, I was actually once playing on an IBM Z13 for some of my work. For those of you who know what that is, oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. I should not have had access to that. But on top of the nuts and bolts networking, I've also got to start figuring out this never-ending stream of ancillary services. Like, I'm using SolarWinds for the first time and trying to understand why most of our alerts aren't sending emails, even though it looks like they're being triggered. While I'm also living inside our Palo Alto firewalls for 4 hours a day trying to unfuck the prior, now fired, outside security consultant's half-aborted attempt to implement segmentation with the firewalls at the network core. Oh, and also, they paid a bunch of money for a Splunk server at some point, which has its own unique programming language that I need to sort. Hey, Splunk, when your cheat sheet is a dozen pages long, it's not a cheat sheet. Out so management can get the pretty graphs that drives their world. But I also need to learn how Microsoft's NPS, Network Policy Server, and Radius, Remote Authentication Dial-In User Service, server, because that's the only thing we have for network access control, and the policies are convoluted and completely undocumented, and I'm terrified to touch it all because it's a house of cards that will probably fall over the instant the wind blows the wrong way. And I'm keeping up with the daily VoIP management stuff on this expensive cloud provider they have, which is actually a small blessing because it's pretty straightforward compared to the CUCM clusters I'm accustomed to. Oh, and I'm sorting out Marikai for the first time too, which has their own quirks. How the heck do you limit an SSID just to a specific access point? And on top of this, they're considering a company expansion in the next few months, which would necessitate a near-complete re-architecture of the network with new core distro switches to actually get 10 gig fiber to all the access layer stacks, and new firewalls with much greater filtering capacity. And I've nodded and taken polite notes through meetings about these things, and after I did some scary math and talked to VARs and finally went back to management and was like, guys, this is going to cost like $500,000. And they all nodded and said, okay, that sounds about right. Let's start seeing some high-level designs. And I nod and smile while in my head, I'm screaming, what the fuck? I barely got my CCNA. Why am I here? How the hell do you guys put up with this long term? How can you possibly handle this never-ending fire hose of stuff you're supposed to know and be competent in? How do you come in every day knowing that you're just one unplanned outage away from everyone knowing just how bad you are at this job? But he just discovered what it's like to be a network admin. Edit! Whoa, okay, people need to stop giving me gold, but thank you, I can afford it myself. I didn't mean for this to get any real attention. I'd had a long day and banged it out just before taking the very long way home for a couple hours of motorcycle therapy. This was just a rant/vent, and yes, asking for some validation and support from people who've probably been here before. Part of the shock is I came from a very large quasi-government enterprise with 1,500 users where I was in a junior role on the network team and barely allowed to even make submissions into our CCB process. And now, at this point, I'm the only network guy for a company of 200 users. So I have much more control, but also a much wider area of responsibility, and it's been jarring to come to grips with it. And while I do acknowledge that I'm not actually that bad at the job, there is still so much more I need to learn in terms of all the ancillary systems. Anyway, I appreciate the support and votes of confidence and will respond to people individually. I love you guys. May your buffers be empty and your jitter low. Final edit. You guys are the best. Thanks for the support and comments. I haven't been able to reply to every one of them, but I've absolutely read them and I'm taking all the advice to heart. Editor's note, many different advice in the comments. It's worth looking around if interested, but most commonly it was to learn, keep learning, and keep the resume updated for the worst case, as well as not splurge or take out loans for now. What does that annoying rat clown from Pajama Sam say? Something like, see, the wisest man is the man who understands that he understands nothing. Anyways, update, 8 years later. Nearly 9 years ago, after a tough day at the end of a long week, I banged out this post in a late-night blast of imposter syndrome and panic. Apparently, it struck a chord with people because I am still getting people replying to that post and DMing me about it, asking me how the job turned out, if I still have it, and what happened in the years since. So I guess this is the update to anyone wondering how the story continued. I stayed at that job for much longer than I intended. I took a few interviews with other places through the overheated hiring market of 2021-2022, but either the jobs were just a side move because the companies were basically the same size/complexity, or I could tell the culture wasn't the right fit. But in early 2024, I got a message from someone on LinkedIn saying they were recruiting for Big Firewall Company, although it was going to be a contractor role. The job description was kinda nebulous, and the fact that I wasn't going to be a direct employee was worrisome. But it was fully remote. So I agreed to a series of what I was told would be 4 interviews, and the first 2 went pretty well. But then it was time for the 3rd interview, the technical interview, and boy was I nervous about it. I'd spent the last 6 years in basically being a one-man band and having no one else to judge my abilities against. Sure, I was master of my domain, but it was a domain that I'd built and only implemented the stuff I understood. And now I was going in a technical interview with Giant Firewall Company specifically about their products. I spent the entire week before studying and focusing as much as I could, but I still gave myself maybe a 50% chance of passing. At best. The interview was a full 2 hours and they didn't hold any punches. They hammered on me. Left, right, down, forwards, backwards, and in fucking circles. I felt I kept up with maybe 70% of it, and the moment we signed off, I basically collapsed face down onto my desk. Keeping the energy and mental focus going at 100% for 2 hours straight was exhausting in a way that I'd rarely experienced before. 60 seconds later, before I'd even had a chance to fully gather my senses, my phone rang. It was the recruiter, who told me they were skipping the 4th interview because they were making me an offer on the spot. So I took it, and the job is amazing. It is fast, it is hard, and it is impossible to keep up with. It's a fire hose of information pointed at my face nonstop, and I'm just expected to absorb all of it and become an expert overnight. And I guess I've been doing okay because a few months ago, when a manager of a different team had an opening for a direct hire role, he grabbed me directly. No more contract label on my Slack profile. Full-time employee now. I'm now living a life that is far different from what I ever imagined. Both when I wrote that original post when I was a pretty green network engineer, but also 25 years ago when I was a pimply-faced little 17-year-old kid working at Best Buy dreaming of a career in grown-up IT. This wasn't something I planned. This was an accident. I wasn't supposed to be successful in the world. I was just a nerdy kid who liked doing things with computers and dreamed of one day getting paid for it. So I never had to breathe drywall dust again. And that's been the only real downside of the job so far. It's been a little alienating from people in real life. I actually made a post about it a few years ago before I even got this new job, which bumped my salary up even more. My family is very proud of me, but I'm now living in an upper middle class world that I did not grow up in, and the problems I have in my life are now very different from the problems that I expected to always have. When I go back home to visit the people still living my old life, I feel like I belong more there than I do here, even though I'm grateful to not be there anymore. I don't know how to end this post. Too long didn't read, I work for the really big firewall company now, and am distinctly not poor. Imposter syndrome is such a fucking bastard. It just messes with your head in ways that are just completely unfair. Most of the time, imposter syndrome is like the exact opposite of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you think you know nothing, but you actually know enough to get through and get by. Like, OP was put into a position to sink or swim, and definitely was sinking a little bit, but they just had to use their flippers. They knew how to stay above water and keep breathing, and eventually they were thriving. The moment that I heard they were reading the documentation for their Cisco systems, I knew they were set, because, well, if you know how to read through the documentation, understand it, and apply it, then you're going to at least be in a better boat than most people who are just blindly going at it and Googling it. Because Google will only get you so far. Because there's going to be random obscure shit in the documentation that'll solve an exact random problem that you're having that Google can really only give you roundabout solutions for. This is actually a really good antithesis to the I have been claiming to be bilingual for the past 8 months and no one's caught me yet, and then eventually it all just hammers down on OP. OP had 8 months to learn Spanish, but he just chose not to and kept trying to fake it till he made it. This OP, on the other hand, walked into something, felt underqualified for, and while whispering under his breath how much of a lying piece of shit he is, rebuilt the entire network infrastructure to a point where it was not only functional but thriving. I played with networking infrastructure a little bit in high school and college, but it was just way over my head. Networking has too many ghosts in the machine and it's too unpredictable, and that just stresses me out. This post was collected by Sebastian Lim. Posted to r/Am-I-the-Asshole by Baby's Mom is Gone. Am I the asshole for telling my sister I don't trust her to watch my son? Posted February 25th, 2020. I'm a 19-year-old man with a 3-month-old son. His mother surrendered her rights and is no longer in the picture. I work 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. at a gas station and I raise my son. That's what I do these days. Only one of my friends still speaks to me and hangs out with me. I live at home with my parents and sister, 21, and pay a small rent each month. I can't afford to move out with the baby. My parents help me when they can. My sister doesn't like my son. She once told me she thinks he's an annoyance and a hindrance. If he cries, she complains. If there's baby clothes in the laundry, she complains. Basically, the baby exists and that pisses her off. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best to be a good dad. My sister has never offered to help with the baby beyond holding him briefly, and she hasn't done that more than about 4 or 5 times since he was born. The other day, my friend called and offered me a really great opportunity for some side work. He works construction, and they needed an extra guy for some installation work. 4 hours, and I get $400. I jumped at it. Any extra money can only help. I started trying to find a babysitter. My sister was hanging out in the living room while I walked around the house on the phone. I managed to find a sitter who said she didn't want to be paid and went to get the baby ready. My sister asked me why I didn't ask her when she was sitting right there. I told her I didn't think she'd want to since she'd never offered to help before. She told me it was different. This was for work and not just me wanting to sleep or whatever. And he was about to go down for his nap and he's pretty easy when he first wakes up. She told me it wouldn't be a problem. I asked her why she didn't say something between phone calls and she said she didn't think she needed to because we're family and family asks each other for help. I reminded her of all the times she'd complained about the baby and me and called him names and told me she wished he'd never been born and asked her why she thought I'd trust her with my son. She started crying and told me that wasn't fair and I needed to remember that the whole house was dealing with the baby and she was just having a hard time adjusting, but she'd never do anything to hurt him. I told her she should have spoken to me about her feelings instead of acting like a child, took my son, and left. When I got home, both my parents set in on me because my sister told them I'd accused her of bad intentions to the baby. Am I the asshole for being honest when my sister offered to babysit? Relevant comments. Grumpy Spud Gal. Info. Who on earth did you find who was willing to watch an infant for free? OP responds, a church friend of my mom's. I text my mom and asked if she knew anyone at all who'd consider last-minute babysitting, and she sent me the phone numbers of 3 women who know me, who go to church with my mom. She's a really nice lady in her 60s who doesn't have local grandchildren who told me it would be nice to have a baby for a couple hours. I still offered to pay her, but she declined. User God hates Wolverine! Not the asshole. She only offered because she thinks she'll be paid. Your instincts are correct. With everything she said about your son, she'd be the very last name on the list. Remind your parents of the comments she made. You have no reason at all to trust her when it comes to your kid. Edit to add, thinks she'll be paid as she heard a brother offered to pay even though she declined payment. OP responds, see, I did remind my parents of every time she said something negative, and they said that was just her being her, and I should know that she'd step up when I needed her. Apparently, I'm not supposed to judge people's intentions based on their words. User God hates Wolverine responds further, throw it back in their face and ask if they would have let someone watch you or your sister if that person said it, followed by nothing to prove they mean well and want to help. Her actions behind her words are her intentions. She hasn't done anything, and her reactions to your son is enough to prove it. Why you don't trust her? She's done nothing to show she can, will, nor wanted to. OP responds, I quoted some of the stuff I've heard her say or that she said to me, and they have the audacity to tell me those things. I overheard didn't count because people are allowed to vent, and that people are natural caregivers. They just need the opportunity. So then I brought child abuse statistics and asked where their opportunities failed, and they told me to go to my room. Me, a 19-year-old man with a child, got sent to my room. Joke's on them, me and baby dude took a nap together and then we had a bath and it was fantastic. User arse holier than thou, not the asshole. No assholes here for the most of that, but it disintegrated a bit at the end. Can't blame you for thinking she wouldn't be interested or her for volunteering when it's work-related. Trust her with your son is a bit much. What's she going to do exactly? But then she started crying and your parents took her side, so they all suck for that. OP responds, I was just worried that if he got fussy or wouldn't settle, she might yell at him or just ignore him, something like that. She plays video games with a big pair of headphones, and I just don't know if she would think to leave them off or would do so if I asked her to. I've never seen her with a baby longer than 5 minutes, and we have no younger siblings/cousins. I don't think she's ever held a baby before my son. User the one-armed wolf! This comment has been downvoted. No assholes here, and maybe even you're the asshole at the very least. She started crying and told me that wasn't fair, and I needed to remember that the whole house was dealing with a baby, and she was just having a hard time adjusting. That's an extremely fair point. It's not like she insults him either. She just complains about him. OP responds, not arguing, just clarifying. She has literally insulted the baby before. She refers to my son as it. She calls him a little asshole. She says he's ruining everyone's life. She says that she wishes he was never born. There was no point including that in the original post because it doesn't add or subtract from the story, and every time I tried to write it out, it sounded like I was just whining and adding stuff for sympathy. Comment from user in 100 years. You're an amazing father. I want to help. I don't know where my granddaughter is, and I miss her every single day. She's probably 3 years old now, and I don't even know her name. I wish I could help be there for her and my daughter every day. I think my son-in-law made my daughter cut off her family. OP responds, I'm so sorry this has happened to you. I wish I had a suggestion for you, but I've never had to search for a missing person. My son's mother lives in the same town and neighborhood as me and my son. I see her everywhere. My son even looks like her. Same hazel eyes, same red hair, same freckles. It hurts because I still love her, but I don't like her anymore. I'll pray for you and your granddaughter. I edited my post to reflect some good news I received literally 10 minutes ago while I was answering comments. I was praying for help in my situation, and I got some. Maybe it'll extend to you as well. Update on the same post, added the 25th of February, 2020. Edit to add, apparently God is on my side right now. The lady I mentioned in this post who babysat my son for me, she goes to church with my mom, and when I dropped my son off, I explained that I was having trouble finding a sitter or paying for daycare. She called the pastor and explained the situation, and 2 days a week, my son can attend the church nursery school from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. for free. And the lady has offered to take my son 1 day a week during the same time frame, and has also found another lady who will take him for 1 day a week. Same time frame. The ladies both requested $50, which I'm happy to pay. That means there's only 1 day a week and 3 hours in the mornings that I need childcare, and my mom has agreed to watch him for those 3 hours and drop him off. I still have to figure out Fridays, but Monday through Thursday are covered. I can breathe again. I think the most unsettling part of this post are the dates. He found care for his child February 25th, 2020. It's posts like these where, yeah, they have a really good and happy outcome and an ending that, has hope in it. But then you look at the date and it's just kind of like it's like the end credits scene where it undoes the entire plot of the movie and now there's a new threat, but the movie franchise got canceled and now you'll never know what happens. It's like Huntic or Symbionic Titan, where they end on good notes, but there's also been a shit ton of stuff revealed that makes you have so many questions, and it just never gets resolved, and you're left just making theories for the rest of time. I do hope OP was able to figure out better accommodations and arrangements after COVID hit, because damn, that is some unfortunate timing. Oh boy, it's the outro. I do just want to say that I really can't stress enough that I only promote gamer subs because it's a product that I actually drink and enjoy. Because otherwise there would be a lot of just, sponsor spots for products I don't give a shit about, like Temu, AliExpress, a couple VPNs here, a few crypto things, an AI company wanting to turn me into an AI company wanting to turn me into an AI chatbot for erotic roleplay. I'm not fucking kidding on that one. There are a lot of just sponsorship emails, and a lot of them range from 4 to 5 figures per deal. But I don't take them because I don't actually give a shit about their product. I do gamer subs. I only get paid from gamer subs when someone buys something from gamer subs. Which a lot of those ad deals are just, read our script and then we'll just send you the money, no questions asked. I don't even have to use their product, and they'll pay me to sponsor it. On top of that, though, that means that it would interrupt the video and I would pretty much be entirely beholden to their brand standards. Gamer subs literally has the concept of just don't get us sued. I don't take those deals because I already get enough from you guys from the gamer subs purchases and the YouTube memberships as well as the AdSense payouts. So I'm not gonna sell my soul to Temu. That being said, gamer subs, use code OZ at checkout. If you don't want to commit to it quite yet of spending $40 for a tub of caffeine, which is 100 servings, which they do caffeine free, they have a sleep aid one that's 30 servings, and they also have this new Gamerade thing, which is kind of an electrolyte boost that has 0 caffeine. It's also not bad. I don't think Gamerade quite has free samples yet, but they do for AFK as well as their regular flavors, and I would highly recommend just giving it a shot with the free samples. It's free shipping. You just plug your address in and they send it to you in an envelope. And then you get your samples, and then bada booey. You gotta find out if you actually wanna try their product or not, or commit to it. Which, so far, this month alone, I see that about 30 of you have decided to take me up on that offer and give that a shot. And keep in mind, this month only includes June 1st. So, good on you guys. I'm very excited to hear what you guys think. And even if you don't like it, at least now you know that this wouldn't be something you would enjoy, but you didn't have to also spend $40 on it. $36 if you use code OZ at checkout. Thanks for listening to that outro spiel there. I'll catch you guys later.